Mrs. Danielle DeVita back with another video. I overheard someone say that marriage is overrated. A lot of women say, I like the strong silent type. Well, a lot of men like the feminine silent type. And for sure, it's going down. So a lot of times people are not getting the value. When to speak and when to be quiet is one of the most powerful. She's going to be aggressive, thinking that. And as someone who's been married for 12 years, she's driven, not lazy. And this will make yourself and get on the right path. That understand that you might be doing a disservice to your daughter if you don't help her understand vetting and proper decision making. Now she's going to be a basket case later. If you don't help her understand emotional intelligence, she's going to hold on to a lot of emotional baggage. If you don't. We live in a world where femininity, marriages, family, and courting is no longer valued. We live in hookup culture, situationships, and struggle love. The number one reason women struggle in long-term relationships, number one, femininity, and number two, staying in a relationship or entertaining people longer than the woman should. My name is Danielle DeVita, and I'm a relationship and femininity coach. I've been married for 12 years, and I want to help you get on your feminine journey and vet for the right man today. For more of my content, you can visit MrsDanielleDeVita.com, or you can go to YouTube, Instagram, or my Facebook page. Get on your feminine journey today. Welcome to another live with Mrs. Danielle DeVita. I am Danielle, and I am a relationship and femininity coach, and my goal is, been listening, my goal is to make sure that, or to hope that you are more feminine, because that's one of the reasons why a lot of women are not in the best of relationships, because they've lost touch with their femininity, or they're in a relationship longer than they should be. And the same thing for men, but it would be you're not in touch with your masculinity. So if you've watched my content before and you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do so. If you're on Facebook Live, go ahead and follow me. If you're watching this content and you want to learn more about me, you can go to MrsDanielleDeVita.com. You can continue to watch me on either TikTok, Instagram, YouTube here, and then go ahead and subscribe and follow me if you like this video today. So my husband's not going to be on this live today, but he will be on the one on Thursday, and we're going to be talking about sexual compatibility. But today we're going to talk about 4 ways that you can be passive aggressive in a relationship and how to stop it. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about this, because this is one of those subjects that we don't talk about often. And I do believe that it's something that women may do more so than men. And I want to help you get through this, because it's easy to be passive aggressive. It's easy to not deal with confrontation, but then have this hostility. And we understand that this can be outside of relationships, romantic relationships. But let's talk about, from the female perspective, what it looks like. All right. So let's get started, because there are about 4 different ways that you would probably see that's a little bit more obvious. All right. And the first way is you're feeling some type of way, but so you're saying, I'm fine. You're saying everything's great, but in your head, you're saying something different. So you're thinking the opposite of what you're saying. As women, we tend to say, be a man of your word. What you say, go ahead and do it, right? But that's part of being passive aggressive. If you're a woman and you're saying you're fine, you're saying you're okay, you're saying nothing's wrong to your partner, but there very well is something wrong. That is a form of passive aggressive, because if you watch my channel, I think that positive communication and transparency is the best way to get the relationship moving on. Now, sometimes some things are difficult to say, some things are difficult to talk about, but you have to say it. I've been married for 12 years. I have to say some difficult things to my husband, whether he likes it or not, but I want to be transparent. Now, before I move any further, I want to say it's the way you say things that matters as well. You probably hear the term, come to me correct. You want to make sure that you go to your partner correctly, because if not, he's going to be on the defensive. And then now the argument's going to be about your attitude or your lack of respect, rather than the actual situation that you wanted to address. So that's number 1. You are saying one thing, but thinking another. So you're not being honest. You're not being transparent. All right. Number 2 would be you're saying one thing, but your actions show otherwise. So in this case, you may be retaliatorial, right? And this would be, you're slamming things. I'm fine, but you're, slamming cups really hard, slamming doors, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And you're like, "I'm good," because you think that they should know what's wrong with you. So your actions are saying you're upset. You're probably talking through your teeth. Whatever the case may be, you are showing actions that show you are highly upset, not happy about something, not fine, but otherwise you say you are. All right. So we want to make sure that our actions and our words are consistent and aligned with each other. And if not, you run a risk of people tired of having arguments with you. They feel like you're not peaceful because you're having bad attitudes or you seem moody, but you're saying you're okay, right? Um, Monica says, I have no idea how to be feminine. Please help. I definitely want to help. My channel is not like any other. A lot of channels that talk about femininity talk about the outward appearance. And I like to talk about the mindset, which is what we're talking about today, which is one part of the mindset, not being passive aggressive, how to overcome those behaviors and have positive communication with your partner so you can have a successful relationship, whether it be marriage, dating, or any other relationship, as a matter of fact. But part of being feminine is knowing how to handle your emotions, how to say what's on your mind without being weak and without being aggressive. My goal is not to have you be aggressive at all, whether it's directly aggressive or passive aggressive, but for you to be assertive, right? So it's okay that you say what's on your mind as long as there's tact to it, as long as you can say things respectfully, as long as you can say things with love, right? We want our men to do the same thing. We want for them to say things and not be brutal, right? You have the term brutally honest. I don't want you to be brutally honest with me. I don't want my husband to be brutally honest with me. I want him to be honest, but speak to me as if he loves me. And I'll say the same for you. Speak to your partner like you love them. You chose them. You have children with them. You married them. You decide to be with them. You decide to sleep with them. So let's talk about it, right? All right. And so the third thing about being passive aggressive. So again, number one was you're saying one thing, but you're thinking another. Number two would be you're saying one thing, but your actions are saying another. And three is you're saying one thing and you say you're fine, or actually you don't say anything at all. You're kind of withdrawn. You know, the people that just say they don't really say much. You may say, "You okay?" And you're like, but they kind of withdraw from you. They don't speak much, they don't do much. So they're not really, they kind of nod or suggest that they're okay, but they kind of push back. They've retreated. The communication, um, the connectivity, whatever the chemistry you guys had is kind of dwindling, right? Whether you're in a relationship or you're married, that person is having sex less, talking to you less. They're not telling you something's wrong. They're not confronting you with the issue. They are ignoring the fact that there's a problem. They're pretending like everything's okay, but you can tell that they've moved away from you. And this is what we don't want, because this is how, when we find out, people say, I haven't had sex in a month. I haven't kissed my partner and such and such. We don't go out anymore. We don't do things. Of course you don't, because 3 months ago, they were mad at you. And instead of saying and doing anything about it, they just decided to just retreat. No confrontation, no talking, no nothing. And it is a form of silent treatment as well. But sometimes people don't know how to positively communicate or communicate at all. It could be how they grew up, what they saw, or they don't know how to properly express themselves. So it is important that if you are someone who's in a relationship with someone who's passive aggressive, to do your best to try to have an open line of communication, a safe space where they can speak. Meaning, if you want them to be honest, allow them to be honest and not retort back, preventing them to want to speak out and have that kind of confrontation. And now, when I say confrontation, I don't mean they're trying to be a person who's not, trying to keep the peace, but they are someone who is trying to actually come to you, right? But it's going to be an uncomfortable situation, and you have to deal with that. That sometimes, situations are you don't want to deal with it. Those words, we have to talk, but it can come out positive on the other side. I've had those conversations with my husband. we've got to talk, right? And then sometimes you may have to give people time before you actually go from the we have to talk to the actual conversation, so their emotions can kind of get out the way so they can receive what it is that you have to say. And this is going to be with any relationship. There's always going to be some boundaries crossed, some deal breaker, and you're going to have to get to a crossroad and say what it is you have to say, even though it hurts. Right? So those are three things that's passive aggressive. The other thing that's passive aggressive, which I think a younger crowd does this. So you may be if you're a young woman, if you're older, I don't typically see you doing this, but you're mad at someone. Instead of confronting them with the problem, you tell everybody but them. So now everyone's mad at that person, but you never told that person why you're upset. They don't know anything. They don't even know you're upset. They thought everything was good. They ask how you're doing, and you say, I'm good. But everybody knows that you're not good but them. So they've created enemies without even knowing it. And that's usually something that, mean girls do, young people do. But sometimes in relationships, we can tell our mother, our brother, our sister, our friends, and everyone knows all the stuff they did. But the person who actually you have the problem with, you don't address it, right? You maybe put your aggression out on someone else. You know, there sometimes you hear this called frenemies. They act like they're your friend, but they're really your enemy. So they're out to get you. They do things to hurt you. If you guys are not in a relationship, you may see this like the person slowly tries to not have you see your kid. They do things to get you fired. It's just little things that people are doing. It is a form of retaliation, but this is where the person never confronts you with the problem. You never really see it coming. They're just doing things behind your back, or they're instigating, they're creating other problems, and that is passive aggressive, right? Why am I saying this? Why does this matter? You don't want to be passive aggressive in a relationship, because then if there's no positive communication, the relationship can't last. I don't know if you guys heard of a research that was done, and it's called the magic ratio, 5-1. This is where it was reviewed. It was two researchers, and I think they were PhD doctors or something like that. They reviewed relationships, and they reviewed marriages. They even followed the marriage for 10 years, right? Over a decade, I think 10, 15 years, to see how they did in the end. They would go over different interactions that they had, different conflicts, and see for every five, interaction that you had that was some type of conflict, some type of difficulty, how was it handled? And it says that for every five, we have every 5-1, so 5 positive to 1 negative, your relationship is likely to last. If you have more negative interactions, it was likely going to lead in divorce. And this is the same for relationships. If you could think to the past 5 interactions that you had with your partner, 5 conflicts, I should say, how did they turn around? Did it end up on a positive note, or did it turn into a fight, turn into a huge argument? You want to make sure that you have positive interactions. There can be some type of negative conflict that can turn into a positive. A vase, right? Someone breaks your favorite vase. Your partner breaks your favorite vase. It could be negative. You yell at them, curse them out, or whatever. Or you could say, it's okay. These things are replaceable. That was a conflict that turned into something positive by what I said. That's okay. Things are replaceable. If it turns into a cursing match, that's a negative interaction. So we can take any type of conflict and make it into a positive one. And the main goal is to address issues head on. Try to address them right when it happens, instead of letting it linger and then talk about it 5 days later, 10 days later, a week later. Back then you did such and such, and the person doesn't remember. So it's best to address things head on. This is highly important because as women, we are emotional creatures. So we want to be able to deal with our emotions, deal with things that are bothering us head on. So we can be happier, we can be healthier emotionally and mentally, right? Because it is mind, body, and spirit. So you want to be mentally there. You want to have your mindset there. You want to be emotionally well, because this is what's going to lead to a positive relationship. This is what's going to lead to more sex in your relationship. Whenever you're happy and your husband's happy, or if you're not married, your partner, they're likely to do more for you because they're happy. And you're likely to do more because you're happy. People tend to want to do less when they're not happy. Think about a job. If a job gets on your nerves, you could go out your way. You're like, I'm not going out my way for all of them. They're getting on my nerves. Imagine that in a relationship. You're tired of someone. And instead of addressing it and get it resolved, you say, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm not putting my all in this relationship. But you stay in the relationship. So you're half doing a relationship. This relationship is going on haphazardly. And the last thing you want is a relationship that's half stepping. You want a full relationship, a vibrant relationship. And the best way you're going to do that is get through the issues, not try to circumvent it, right? You don't want to go over and under and around it. You want to get through the issues. And believe me, after 15 years with my husband and married for 12, we've had our share of things. So I'm telling you from experience, things will happen. And I'm pretty sure things to come will happen. 20 years in our marriage, 30 years in our marriage. New things happen. I learn new things about him all the time. So surely new conflicts can arise. And my goal is to help make sure that you have the positive mindset and you have the wisdom and you have the femininity to do it. And if you're a man, you can also make sure that your masculinity reigns to the point that you are using your emotions and your actions and your leadership qualities to make sure your relationship moves in the right direction. So this is not all put on a woman. You can do it too. And if you're not sure how to do it, you can find out in my book, Command Respect from the Woman You Want. I'm still working on that, going through publishing and formatting right now. So as soon as that ebook comes out in paperback, I will let you all know. Now, ladies, don't think I forgot about you. I have a book coming out called Girl, Go Get Your Husband. And for teenagers. So if you have some teenagers, some preteens, I have a book for them called Boy Bye. And this is something like I would write to my daughter. So hopefully, if you're young and you're listening, you can have this too. This will not just talk about femininity and boys, but just navigating you and your femininity as a woman, just walking in your womanhood. And it will touch on relationships and romance, right? Because that's something you're going to need. You're going to need to know how to do this. It would be a shame to only learn this in your 20s and 30s because you're dealing with boys right now. If you're 12, 14, 15, and 16. So you want to navigate all of that information right away. And again, if you are, a young boy, you can still read Command Respect from the Woman You Want. And this is from a woman's perspective, but it was co-signed by my husband. All right, so I am going to end this live. Again, please like and subscribe. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I try not to be on too long because I don't want you guys to, the attention span these days are not as long. So hopefully, if you do have a question, though, go ahead and put it in the comments. You can call the number next live if you have questions, 813-816-1813. So hold on to that number, and you can call on Thursday's live and talk a little bit more about this if you have questions. But again, don't forget, I'll be talking about sexual compatibility with my husband. This is about women or men who like to say, well, I don't do the whole no sex before marriage. I want to know how she is because I don't want to get married to her and then it sucks. Well, here are some questions that you can ask your partner just to see how you guys are compatible in that area and to determining if it will work or not, because people have great intercourse and the relationship doesn't work out. So I don't think that's a huge determinator in whether the relationship will work out. Okay. All right. So thanks again for tuning in onto this live. I'll be talking to you all soon. You all take care. Have a great day. This is Danielle DeVita back with another video. I overheard someone say that marriage is overrated. A lot of women say, I like the strong silent type. Well, a lot of men like the feminine silent type. And for sure, it's going down. So a lot of times people are not getting the value. When to speak and when to be quiet is one of the most powerful. She's going to be aggressive, thinking that. And as someone who's been married for 12 years, she's driven, not lazy. And this will make yourself and get on the right path. That understand that you might be doing a disservice to your daughter. If you don't help her understand vetting and proper decision making, now she's going to be a basket case later. If you don't help her understand emotional intelligence, she's going to hold on to a lot of emotional baggage. If you don't. We live in a world where femininity, marriages, family, and courting is no longer valued. We live in hookup culture, situationships, and struggle love.
The number one reason women struggle in long-term relationships, number one, femininity, and number two, staying in a relationship or entertaining people longer than the woman should.
My name is Danielle DeVita, and I'm a relationship and femininity coach. I've been married for 12 years, and I want to help you get on your feminine journey and vet for the right man today. For more of my content, you can visit MrsDanielleDeVita.com, or you can go to YouTube, Instagram, or my Facebook page. Get on your feminine journey today.